Hey, welcome back, guys, to another one of my lecture series. We're going to get started on this one. I've actually broken this one up into a couple parts because it is a lot of information. So you may, so I'll try to keep them within about 10 minutes if I possibly can. Give or take a minute or so that you can have time to actually don't have to listen to all of them in one single sitting. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the revolutions in thought in the age of reasoning. Um, and we're going to be looking at a couple things throughout this lecture series. One's toward the French Revolution. It's moving toward the French Revolution. The Scientific Revolution, the Enlightenment, despotism, and revolution. Okay, despotism, patriotism. I messed that word up again, didn't I? Okay, so we're just going to keep moving on. Okay, so two things would need to be for the French Revolution to actually later on to occur. And one is going to be the bankruptcy of France as a result of the 7 Years' War and the American Revolution. The 7 Years' War we talked about before in the last lecture series. So there was an atmosphere of critical thought from the scientific revolution and a commitment to rational discussion, which later becomes known as enlightenment. And as I said, we will talk about that one as well. Now, sometimes this age is also referred to as the Age of Reasoning, or this time period is known as the Age of Reasoning. So the scientific revolution, the Age of Reasoning kind of go hand in hand to some degree. So we're going to be looking at, okay, the Enlightenment, okay, was predicated, predicated, excuse me, I messed up my words, on the scientific revolution, which helped create a faith and reasoning and facts, okay, what humans could basically detect from with their own senses, as opposed to mere authority. Secular in orientation, the Enlightenment was concerned with this world and basically how it works, rather than the ultimate salvation or damnation as member of the divine concepts. Okay, it showed an optimistic faith in progress, and they accepted the happiness was obtained, and that happiness actually is obtained in this world. It further demanded control over unrestrained emotion, referring to what Kenneth Clark, he was a great art historian, called the smile of reason rather than the grimace or the grin of romanticism. Okay, so that's a great quote to actually try to remember if you can, especially for an essay. The enlightened thinkers, believed in that humanity could be improved in various ways. I mean, in more than just one. Okay, so the scientific revolution, um, they last from roughly about 1500 to 1700, and it paired the way, as again, for the Enlightenment, remember cause and effect, guys, all these things connect. Uh, it was made possible basically by a strong nation state, which ensured, excuse me, domestic political order and stability, so that time could be spent for science and instead of civil wars. Monarchs greatly increased their prestige by financing scientific writers. Wealth from commerce, okay, even allowed even indentured merchant princesses to dabble in science. Collecting specimens and building various labs. And moreover, you have the new geographical discoveries gave new information, which had basically had to be explained. And most important was the lack of the fear of the supernatural. Uh, the witch craze, guys, is kind of died out by the mid 17th century. This reflected the fact that the European population was now increasingly living in cities where they were less reliant on good weather and the lack of the soil's fertility. Excuse me. Thus, they no longer search for scapegoats in the population or someone to blame for their problems and all the other great ills of society. Okay, inventions made the scientific revolution possible. You have new purity in glass with making allowed better for telescopes and microscopes. You have new developments in math like decimals and logarithms, as well as the slide rule, which allowed calculations to proceed more quickly and had the right equipment. And calculus was now able to describe algebra in motion. For all you math lovers out there. So you also have scientific societies such as the Royal Society of England. Was founded in 1662, and it helped spread the information that was taking place at this time. So we're going to take a look at some of the leaders in the scientific revolution. We have Copernicus. Some of these people you probably already know from science classes, so I'm just going to give you highlight parts of it. Copernicus, discovers the sun was the center of the solar system. This discovery alone robbed humanity of its traditional place at the center of the universe, and of course, it created a lot of controversy at its time. And Copernicus was actually condemned by the Inquisition following his death. So I mean, he's dead, and they're condemning him, for his findings. We have the great John Kepler. It was formulated the three laws of planetary motion, which actually supported Copernicus' view that the planets revolved around the sun and not the Earth. You have the great Galileo, which constructed the first telescope. He uses the telescope actually to confirm Copernicus' theory about the sun, as also the sun being the center of the solar system. And Galileo was brought actually before the Inquisition as well, where he actually recanted his support for Copernicus. Didn't do him much good though, because he was basically put under house arrest for the rest of his life. It wasn't until just recently, about 5, 6 years ago, that the Catholic Church actually rescinded, because they had discommunicated him. They rescinded that and reinstated him as a good Catholic man, which a lot of good at him. He was already dead. He's been dead for years and years and years. Okay, we have Francis Bacon. Bacon, advocated the scientific method of reasoning. Again, if you're taking science classes, you probably all know this, or should know who he was. The scientific method of reasoning is often called inductive reasoning. Um, the method, called for basic observations of a phenomenon, measurement of it, and experimentation, creating your hypothesis and then verifying that hypothesis and all those wonderful, wonderful things. Okay. Um, so there's a great quote by Huxley that I actually like. I love this actually quote. It's the method of scientific investigation is nothing but the expression of the necessary mode of working of the mind. Isn't that really cool? I just kind of really like that. Actually, it would be great for you to actually add in that quote for an essay or something later on. Okay, we have one of my other favorite scientists that I like in this period is Descartes. He's one of the great mathematicians of his age. He's also a major philosopher as well. Uh, kind of combines it all. He applies mathematical methods to explain the mysteries of the universe. And one of his most famous quotes is, "I think, therefore I am." Now, if ponder upon that statement for a while, it's really deep. We'll probably discuss that quote and might even have an assignment on that one too. Okay, one probably the most famous of the scientists during this time period is Sir Isaac Newton. He becomes probably the biggest symbol of this age. He builds on the work of Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo. He unifies all those discoveries of the age into the one unifying principle of gravitation. He also, helps develop, or further develop calculus to help prove, those new scientific theories. And basically, his work actually shows that the and terrestrial motion were governed actually by a single theory, which could be expressed in a mathematical formula. So he's a really important guy in this time period. In 1687, Newton publishes one of many of his theories in his masterwork, Mathematica Principia, something like that. I think I'm close though. Okay, this work is one of the most influential books ever written. Did much to reshape scientific thought for many generations to come. Its impact was not just in science, but it had effects in many other fields of study as well. And one of those biggest ones, or probably one of the most important ones, is the new development, the scientific revolution had on political thought. If the universe could be understood by man, it must also be able to be understood and devise the best way to govern. Um, Thomas Hobbes was actually greatly influenced by the scientific revolution and Newton as well. He was influenced, greatly by the orderliness that the new mathematics and scientific theories provided. And if the universe is like a machine governed by laws, so the governments must be as well. Not surprisingly, this is the age that the Constitution writing is going on, as men tried to discover the new laws of governing, various political arrangements, and then setting them down as, basically the same as Newton had done with gravity. Um, there was a contract, basically, as they viewed it, between the people, and their God, and who didn't, he didn't make apples fall upward, so that if God Himself is bound by those various laws, so must kings. For if you did otherwise, then you must thinking yourself better than God. Um, so so we looked at a couple of the scientists now, and we're going to go move in uh, to the next one of my next parts. So this is going to end part one. So stay tuned for part two, and you know, so we'll finish this up. We'll continue this on, so that you can write this stuff down and study this, and I'll let you know. I'll send you an email out when part two is ready.